I'm Bernard MacLaverty. I'm sitting here in Royal Avenue outside the Central Library, and beside the Central Library is the Belfast Telegraph with its famous clock telling us the time. And this is North Belfast. I went to school about a mile up the road to St Malachy's College, and that was the beginning of any kind of learning, any kind of interest I had in the arts began there with friends and not with teachers. I learnt more from my friends than I did from teachers. This is the right side of the city for a writer who really influenced me very much. Brian Moore was born on the Antrim Road in the north side of the city. He has many novels, too many to mention here, but one that's important was, for me, was The Feast of the Lupercal. And it was a novel about the school that he went to, and many 10, 15 years later, I went to the same school. And there's another novel about that school, St Malachy's College, called My Brother Back by Michael MacLaverty. So there can't be too many schools with 3 novels about them, because I wrote one called The Anatomy School many years later. There was a good story about Brian Moore when he wrote The Feast of the Lupercal. He was very critical of the school and the way it treated its pupils. And someone gave a copy of the book to the president, who was a priest at that time, and allowed him to read it. And when the priest was giving back the book, he said that the boy is only biting the hand that birched him. I thought that was lovely, especially as Brian Moore gave the line to the priest. The good line to the priest is wonderful. He also wrote screenplays and worked with the very best in the business. He worked with Hitchcock on Torn Curtain, and I remember being at a film festival in Canada and hearing him talk about working with Hitchcock. He says that the method that was used would be that Hitchcock would say to the actress, you go over to the mantelpiece, you light a cigarette, you look longingly towards the man who's looking out the window, who's looking down into the street, and he sees a man underneath a lamplight lighting his own cigarette. Would you go away and dialogue that in for me, Brian? So it was a kind of the writer as craftsman picking up the pieces after Hitchcock had said what was to happen. I thought that was funny. I'm going to read a small section from the Anatomy School. On supper nights, his mother served everything with such a palaver. Napkins and paper doilies, tiny sandwiches, sausage rolls and vol au vents, and mushroom patties, cupcakes and apple tarts. The same people had been coming to the house ever since he could remember. Mary Lawless and Nurse Gilliland never missed. Nurse Gilliland had retired many years before, but for some reason she still got her job title. Father Farquharson made it when he could. At the last moment she'd fall and half wheeze, half shout, Jesus, Mary and Joseph. When she'd settled in the armchair and arranged her huge bosoms, she'd turn to the priest and say, excuse me, Father, it was a prayer and it was well meant.